Hey Huskies, welcome back to Game On. Today we're talking about a horror game called Resident Evil Requiem. Like, the series itself is very old. It's probably back from the 1990s, 2000s, 2010s. The game franchise is very established, and Resident Evil Requiem is so new that it's came out within the past year. And what the general idea of the game is, it's a zombie survival game where you play as two protagonists. You'll play as Grace Ashcroft, who is an FBI detective, and you'll play as Leon Kennedy, who is a former protagonist of previous Resident Evil games, such as Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil 4, and he comes back as part of the story. So please introduce yourself.
My name is Darby Floyd, and I'll be the person answering the questions.
We're happy to have you on here. So tell me a little bit about what your expectations were going into this game for the first time.
My expectations were kind of low because I was like, I'm not a big Leon fan personally, but I think they did a really good job overall with Leon's story and concluded it really well.
That's really nice. That's really nice. I know that we're looking to avoid spoilers for people that might want to be checking it out, but I'm just happy to hear how well received the game is for all the fans, because I feel like what a lot of game franchises nowadays will do is that the fans won't be as happy with newer entries from development decisions, but it seems like Capcom, the developers of Resident Evil, really care about their fans. They've really been listening to them. So, diving into the gameplay, what are some of your favorite things about how the gameplay runs?
I feel like my favorite part is you could go into first person and third person really well, and it's very smooth. You could change into Grace being third person or Leon being third person, but I went with the normal settings where it's Grace first person and Leon third person, which was one of the best storytelling arcs because you could tell Grace is new and Leon is very experienced to fighting and everything.
That's really nice. And yeah, because for Grace's sections in the horror game, you'll play as them at separate periods of time in the story. As Grace, you're someone that's not very experienced with dealing with surviving zombies and surviving monsters. So for her sections, she's a lot more scared than Leon is, because for most of his life, actually, in the video game, he's been dealing with these things, and to see him come back as an action, ready veteran, it's very nice for a lot of fans that want to see that action side of the game series. So for you said that you played more first person for Grace and third person for Leon, right?
Yes.
That's nice. And for another thing in the game, the graphics, I've heard a lot of good things about the graphics. You think that they did a good job with the scenes and the lighting?
Oh, the graphics are amazing. They cared so much about it. There's some imperfections like clothing and clips, but it's a new game, so they can fix it later on. It's not anything big.
That's nice. And I want to ask also about, I know we talked a little about gameplay, but I want to focus more on the combat side of it. How does it feel being a fighter as both of the characters?
The fighting styles are very different in each game. Grace's is more it's hard to say, but it's rigid and it's hard for her to hit some stuff, and you have to improve her weaponry with a different crafting system, which might be harder for new players, but old players it might be as hard as well, but it gets easy once you get into it, and the combat is kind of the same with Grace's, while Leon's is more, it helps new players because it's more action packed, while Grace's is more horror aspect.
I really like that. Just kind of zooming out for the game as a whole, I think that the developers of Capcom have done a really, really good job with it from what I've heard and what I've seen of the game. I'm really excited to give it a try myself. I think that for older fans of horror and newer fans, the game kind of accommodates and provides for all without feeling like it's too generalized. It's still a very specific and well-driven story, and I would honestly recommend it to anyone. So, judging by the difficulty that might come to new players, and some people might find discomfort in that, I would give the game an 8 out of 10 because it's very vivid in what it does, and I think that it does a really great job. So go check it out, give it a try, tell us what you think, and remember, game on.
Game on.